We're in the office of CFA with Chris Latta and Matt Weichel. Matt is the manager of the Falls of the Neuse branch of Chick-fil-A, and Chris is the owner of the Falls of the Neuse restaurant as well as Capitol Crossing. So as the manager, you're the one responsible for...
Pretty much everything, yes. I'm in charge of making the schedule, making sure we're appropriately staffed for peak hours and whatnot so we can do our drive-through play, making sure we're keeping food costs down, things of that nature.
It is our mindset as we go outside. We want to accomplish two things. We go and deal with our customers in our drive-through lane. One is just face-to-face, so we're actually communicating to the customer like we would at the front counter. So it's a little more personal than going through a speaker box, which nobody really loves, and then really expediting the process. So it really dramatically increases our capacity for car count during our peak hours.
How does it increase the capacity?
So a big part of it is that it's allowing the orders to reach our kitchen faster, allowing them to make the orders at a more speedy rate, I suppose. Before we were seeing a lot of bottlenecking right there at the kitchen level as far as orders coming in. Because with specials, things like that, things like the deluxe sandwiches that require the lettuce, cheese, and tomato, we don't make those ahead of time. We make them as they come in. And so being able to get that order on screen and in our system faster, it's allowing us to move the cars through at a faster rate.
So it helps to be able, so the person who's in the drive-through line, it helps when they kind of go all the way back because it gives your kitchen more time to prepare.
Sure, we call it our queue. So we're basically versus at the drive-through box, the speaker box, you might be 5 cars from the windows.
Right.
Now we're getting more like 12, 13, 14 cars from the window, so it gives them that much more time, just the capacity to make that product much quicker.
And then how does it change your personnel structure? So when you have 2 people outside, does that mean that they're replacing someone inside, or are the same people still inside?
So typically when, without the iPads outside, if you're just taking orders over the speaker box, that person who's taking the orders on the headset is also making the drinks, milkshakes, as well as listening to you, taking the order and putting it in the system. So it actually frees them up from the order taking process and allows them to just focus on drink making.
Okay.
So it's not essentially replacing that person, but it's alleviating some of the duties.
So it's actually adding cost. So you're adding cost in your drive-through play by adding workers, and but you're making things go faster, so your unit costs are actually going down.
Correct.
All right.
So we definitely always do it during peak hours. So primarily between 11 and 2 during lunch, and then between 5 and 8 for dinner. Historically during the summertime when business starts picking up because school's out and whatnot, and the breakfast time, we'll do it then as well. Outside of those peak hours, it's all based on volume. So when that line queue backs up to about 5 or 6 cars in line, then we'll send someone out with an iPad, get the line back down, bring them back in.
So when you're sending someone out, like, I mean, I can imagine that it's easy to plan for the peak times, right? But,
Sure.
But you're like, oh, there's a line, we have to send someone out. How do you choose? I mean, where does that person come from?
Typically, it's a front counter person.
Okay.
And so the thought process behind it as well is if you're getting a lot of people coming in the store to get carry-out orders, it's because your drive-through lane is too long.
Right.
And so if you're seeing that a lot of people are getting a lot of orders to go, you don't have a lot of dine-in, then you're easily able to shift someone from that front counter order taking to outside.
So in economics, we think of cost a little bit differently than in finance. And one of the ways that we break up cost is we say there are some costs that are fixed. In other words, I'm going to have this cost regardless of how many sandwiches go out the door. And then we have some costs that are variable, meaning that when we are really busy, we can see these costs going up. We
have fixed costs, absolutely. We've got rent, we've got property tax, we've got common area maintenance charges that are fixed costs. No matter what we do, as far as the amount of dollars we generate, it's the same. But as far as most of our costs are variable, food costs, labor costs, even from electricity or a gas. I mean, that based on how much chicken we sell. It's not the same percentage of the top line sales every month.
So what were the startup costs of this new way of doing it? So you had to buy the iPads.
Had to buy iPads.
And how many do you have? Like how many?
That's a good question. As far as involved in drive-through play, we use 3 at this point. It's grown from just 1, where you're just taking orders, to 2 people taking orders with 2 iPads, to now where we have the cash cart outside.
And you just have the single drive-through lane, or do you have the double?
We have
in
a
all your
single. We
stores?
create a double by ourselves with cones, so it's a little. Again, it's not quite as pretty as there are Chick-fil-A's that do have a double drive-through lane already that built in because they're newer. So we don't build a store without 2 drive-through lanes. We spent about $7,500 per store to get it up and running. So there was substantial cost to make this happen, and just because the iPads, there's a nice stand we have outside. There's umbrellas to kind of protect the people. There's vests. There's heaters. There's fans in the summertime because of the heat here in Raleigh. But it's not cheap. But we saw it as the cost and the investment was worth the return we would get from that.
And you've been happy with
Absolutely.
that decision.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
The cones, are they always there, or do you go out and put those out too when there's peak?
We put them out
Right.
during peak times.
And that's one of those in the moment calls. As far as like we were speaking on earlier about variable costs, that's something we'll monitor with the labor, because putting the cones out there and creating that second lane, it also calls for an extra person to direct the traffic into those. And so as far as if we're not busy enough to have 2 lanes, then we have it out there, we're paying for that extra person to direct traffic, and they're just standing
Oh,
there.
so you have a person out there directing with the cones.
We do.
So that's a third. Okay.
At our Capital Crossing store, we do double lane every day. We're just about 25% busier at that store, so we do. So I know people are surprised by that. So we do that every single day at our Capital Crossing location. I think it's that entrepreneurial mindset, as far as just it's not a guarantee. You're investing money, you're spending money, and it's a risk as doing anything. And for me and for us as a team, we're willing to take that risk to possibly grow the business. And I think that's part of my mindset and part of our team's mindset. So are you willing to take risks to grow the business? I think you have to.
So I want to switch over to the app.
Sure.
Do you like the app?
I love that. I think there's still some glitches in it is the problem, and some from a customer friendly, is it always as easy to use? Is it always work the way we want it to? That's been probably more the issue, as far as the way what its intention, and as far as to make it easy for the customer. I can place my order when I pull in the parking lot. You hit here, and your food should be ready. So you're jumping the line. Is what you're doing,
Right.
and that's the beauty of this. Just some IT issues, just from the platform and the software. It's been a little bit of a nightmare just trying to grow this, because there's millions of people using this app, and it's grown very quickly. But as far as us, it's definitely another way of doing business. It really is, because you can walk up to the side of our counter, you grab your food. There's no transaction at the front counter. So from a cost perspective, we're really eliminating the front counter person.
Right.
So they're totally out of the picture. They just walk over, hand the food. Hey, Allison, here's your food. Thank you so much. Have a great day. So yes, it's and we want to grow this, and we feel like that technology with iPhone, again, is going to rule the world. I think sooner than later, and maybe already is a great investment for us as a company, and then also on the local level.
And how do you feel about it as the manager who has to deal with these orders coming in?
We've seen a lot of offices use it a lot. So when they're sending someone in for lunch on a Friday, instead of coming in with a paper of 6, 7 orders, it's all mobile. So they all just submitted it through one mobile order, and it's easier for them to pick up. They don't have to stand at the counter try to read everyone's order.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I find great about it is we find orders not only more accurate, but it's also dropping our food waste down as well, because we're not incorrectly making orders, and we're not actually, guests can see what item they want and select it right there. We aren't relying on somebody listening to them and taking that. And so it's improving order accuracy with guests. It's dropping our food waste, and it's also alleviating that front counter line as well. And so it's more so about just, I guess, if you're going to pull somebody off front counter because of the mobile orders, you're kind of just attributing that labor to a different position because you will have to make their drinks and so forth with all mobile orders.
Right.
So
So I'm hearing two ways it's lowering your costs. First of all, it's the frontline person, but also the amount of waste.
correct.
How much leeway do you have in pricing?
Zero. Well, I say zero. We can reduce our prices.
Okay.
I can't increase my prices. So we're in a price group here. So and so all of Raleigh, Durham, and surrounding areas are all the same price. That's set by Chick-fil-A. So I don't have flexibility in that. As far as the products that I sell, I can't decide I want to sell hamburgers tomorrow. Have no definitely pretty strict contract with
Right.
that. So yeah, and again, it is more fair. But if you've been in the mall stores, the malls are priced higher than freestanding stores.
But that comes from corporate.
Comes from corporate because it's more expensive to do business in a mall than a freestander, just because of really common area maintenance costs. Probably the only product variants that we have, like it's Lent, and we could have offered a fish sandwich during this time period, but
Oh, really?
we chose not to, and it's just because it's a capacity with our cookers in the back, and it's I'm not sure anyone in Raleigh does that, unless you're in a large Catholic population. It's probably not a big advantage, but there are Chick-fil-A's that do that, and we've never done that personally, and I think we've had a couple of requests for people.
So when you decided, when you were thinking about it, because I'm assuming you thought about it,
We did.
what kind of, so you weighed the cost of doing it, the added cost.
It is the cost, because it really was basically, it takes one of our cookers in the back. So does that reduce
Because
our
it has to have its
capacity?
own,
It does.
because you can't mix
this
chicken and
You
fish.
can't do that. So I think you probably could. We would not choose to do that.
We would
I don't
not.
think it's a health issue, but we don't, from a taste transfer would be the concern for us. Would it cost us business and capacity of cooking because we're giving up one of our cookers? Was
Right.
not a fair swap for me in what we would sell in fish
Right.
sandwiches.
And I think I've got some great stuff. So thank you